Hi, Andrew here from BMG Productions Australia. Today's video is going to cover a 300-point battle between myself using a Batman crew and Pan using a Joker crew. Now, before we begin, I'd just like to thank the viewers and subscribers so far for all your support with the other videos. It's been amazing. And I'd also like to remind you all that this will be the first video in a series of 3 battle reports that we're going to produce for the channel. Now, the only reason we're using 3 battle reports is because before we continue any more on the channel, we'd like to get some feedback and critiques, comments, anything else we can improve on, just to determine if this is sort of a viable prospect for the YouTube community and indeed the Batman community here in Australia and abroad. So yeah, it really depends on you guys, and so far your support's been really good and encouraging, and we appreciate it here at BMG Productions. So yeah, I'd just like to thank you all for that, and just remind you all that that's what we plan to do. So without further ado, we're going to get into today's battle report. So my 300-point Batman crew is as follows. I have Nightwing as my leader. For my free agent, I have Azrael and Red Hood, and for my henchmen, I have Agent O'Connell and Female Cop. Now, objectives that I took were ammo, riddles, and the bat signal. And Pan's 300-point list is as follows. So he took Titan Joker, Copperhead, Asuka, Borgon, and Tristan. His objectives that he took were ammo, Titan dose, and loot. On the screen now you can see a picture of some very nice unpainted objectives. The mission we played was Chance Encounter, which meant that all the objectives were placed within a 30 by 30 centimeter squares, and that's exactly what we did. So that's just a picture of all the objectives. And here's another shot of it. As you can see, we played on a pretty long table, but that doesn't matter. It was a fun game regardless, and you'll see why in a moment. So Pan raised the plan first, and his deployment is as follows. For his first pairing, he had Copperhead with Tristan, and unfortunately on the same board edge I rolled up Female Cop, and she was trying to get as far away from those two as possible. So she tried to get right into the corner to try and get away from them turn 1. As you can see in the next photo, we have Titan Joker hanging out behind the police station, just eating from a dumpster, no doubt. And in the next photo is Agent O'Connell and Nightwing are together at the other end of the street, opposite Copperhead and Tristan. Red Hood is hanging out near the factory on my table edge. We have Borgon and Tristan, or as I like to call them, Thelma and Louise, hanging out on a sports car, also on my table edge, not too far away from the Red Hood. And yes, Azrael didn't arrive on first turn, so that was a bit disappointing, but yeah, let's get into the turn 1. So turn 1 was pretty interesting. We had Joker activate first, and he sprinted plus 3d6 for a massive 37 centimeters and took him all the way to his Titan dose, which he picked up first turn. So he was already scoring points from the get-go. Next, I activated Agent O'Connell, and I jumped him into the nearest sewer to try and get him up the board because he doesn't have a back claw, so I had to try and get him up there somehow. So I chucked him in the sewer and waited till next turn to see where he'd pop up. Copperhead made a move towards Female Cop, and I was just like, oh no, because she ended her turn about less than 10 centimeters away, so I knew I was in trouble, and I just put Agent O'Connell in the sewer, so I couldn't try and rescue Female Cop just yet. Anyways, I had Nightwing, and he activated next, and he moved and then jumped, or backclawed, right onto the top of the factory roof, trying to put some ground between him and everyone else. Tristan sprinted down the street with his shotgun, and then we had Red Hood. So I was thinking about what to do with Red Hood, and I could have gone after Borgon and Tristan, but not Tristan, sorry. What's the other one? Thelma and Louise. Let's just call them that for this battle report. So Thelma and Louise, I thought about it, but then the 2-on-1 situation was a bit unfair, so I just moved, and then I backclawed onto the roof of the comic book shop to try and get a shot at Joker before he got too powerful and I had to move my guys into the objective zone. Next was Borgin. He sprinted up the alleyway, and then I moved Female Cop the hell away from Copperhead because she was breathing down my neck, so I moved her about 23 centimeters closer to the sewer. Then Oscar followed his buddy up the alleyway to try and cut off my access to the loot objectives. So at the end of turn 1, the Joker crew was leading 3-0 because they had 1 point for the bat signal and 2 points for the Titan objective. So turn 2, I miss out on raising the plan first and Pan goes. But before that, Azrael arrived, and to even make it better for me, he manages to pass his bipolar check and gains +1 willpower, which is pretty good. So I was pretty happy with that. I got one of the long table edges, so I deployed him behind the police station, and my reasoning behind that was that I knew that I needed to get to the center table where Joker was there with all the objectives, but I didn't want to put him anywhere close to that sort of 36 centimeter move range which he pulled off last turn. So I popped him on the other side of the police station, and sort of the theory behind that was to try and put him on a intercept course with Tristan, who was walking down that long street. But anyways, let's get into the turn. So Joker activates first, and he picks up his Titan, and then he moves on to the ammo, which, gains him a lot of points. I activate Azrael next, and I make sure I try and sprint. I sprint him as far as I can, and then I fire one of my gauntlet things at Joker. And I missed. I rolled a 1. And I needed a 3, I rolled a 1. So that's how my rolling started for this game. But never mind, I ended his activation there, and then Copperhead goes. And she sprints towards Female Cop and uses Technique, plus her 2 attack counters, and she does 1 wound, and she knocks down Female Cop, which sucked, which is unfortunate. But yeah, that's just the game. Anyways, Agent O'Connell, I activated him before Female Cop, just because I needed him out of the sewers, as you'll see why in a moment. So he exits, and then he moves 4 centimeters just towards the objective. Borgon moves next, and he moves further up the alleyway and goes towards my riddle and blocks it. Thanks, Pan. It's not like I needed those victory points anyways, mate. But that's alright. So that happened, and then Nightwing, I move him further along the factory roof just because he is in the middle of nowhere at the moment, and it's luckily enough that he's an acrobat, so he has a shot of getting anywhere close to the battle of this game. Next is Tristan. He just moves his basic move down the street, and he tries to fire at me, but as I pointed out to Pan, your gun might be 40 centimeters, but your line of sight isn't, mate. And because you've tried to fire at Azrael, and Azrael wasn't standing anywhere near a lamppost. So unluckily for Pan, he stuffed that one up, and he just does his basic move for Tristan. So I finally stand up a Female Cop using one movement counter, and then I chuck her into the sewers as best I can to get away from Copperhead because I didn't really want to face another round of combat with that nutcase Copperhead. So that was her activation, and then Oscar followed his buddy up the alleyway just to give him a bit of support, and that was the end of his. I finally activated Red Hood. I moved him right to the edge of the comic book store, and I had line of sight on either Joker or Borgin. I thought I'd try Borgin just to make him a little bit weaker before he got anywhere, and I hit him, but I failed to wound. So I was getting a little bit annoyed with my dice rolling, but that was the end of the turn, and the score was 8-0 to Pan. So up until this point, I was having a pretty average game of Batman, but it all turned around, and I was so happy I got the raise the plan first, and I activated Red Hood. And me being a tactical genius, I'm not really, but it was a pretty good tactic. What I did was I shot Joker. I got a few hits through, and in the end, I did 2 bloods, 2 stuns. And after that, I backclawed across the street to the bat signal, which was on top of the police building, and I turned it on. And so now my bat signal was chugging away 3 victory points, and I was pretty pleased with myself. So yeah, that was my stroke of tactical brilliance. You can borrow it if you want. No, I'm just kidding. Doesn't matter. Anyways, moving on. Copperhead just moved into the sewer, pursuing female cop, no doubt. Bloody psycho. Nightwing activated next, and he backclawed down from the factory roof and moved to attack Joker. And he did another 4 stun to the big guy. So Joker was starting to hurt, and I was glad because he is one scary dude. So then Pan thought he might retaliate with Mr. J, and he attacked Nightwing, and all of his attacks missed. So I was extremely pleased with how this round was going so far. I activated Agent O'Connell next, and I moved him away from the sewer and moved him into contact with the ammo crate. So that's another 3 victory points for me. Borgin moved up, and he picked up his loot. So I thought that I'd activate Azrael, and I moved him into base contact with Borgin, attacked him, but I whiffed, so my bad dice rolling had returned. Tristan just moved. He just moved up the street, trying to get closer to the action. Female cop got out of the sewers and stood on it. And that was the turn. So I managed to get 6 victory points this turn, which made the score 11-6. So at the top of turn 4, I managed to raise the plan first, and I was in a bit of a conundrum because on the one hand, I had Borgin, who does potentially a lot of damage, locked in combat with Azrael, and I also had Nightwing locked against combat with Titan Joker. And I was sort of tossing up who to activate first. And in the end, I activated Azrael, and he attacked Borgin, and he did 2 bloods. So I thought that was okay. But then Titan Joker happened. He attacked Nightwing, he did 3 hits, and then he did 3 bloods, 3 stuns. And I was just like, ouch, that hurt. And I think he knocked him down as well, which was disgusting. So I made the tactical error of not trying to take down the Joker first turn. Oh, I was kicking myself. Anyways, as retaliation happened, Red Hood shoots at Titan Joker, doing the remaining damage and knocking out Titan Joker. So there was a small consolation prize, but I was so angry that Nightwing, I just let him get damaged because Nightwing sort of holds together this whole crew. But as a small consolation, like I said, Joker was out of the picture for now. Next, Borgin attacks Azrael. He does 2 hits, but luckily I do 2 blocks, so nothing happens. Female cop rushes to aid Azrael and attacks Borgin. Does 2 stuns. Asuka goes next and shoots at female cop, doing 1 blood, 1 stun. Then Agent O'Connell moves to the stun Joker and does a 2 additional blood. So at this stage, he's knocked down, and I'm just trying to get coup de grace. Trying to coup de grace him so he doesn't get up and doesn't do any more damage. We'll see what happens. And Copperhead jumps out of the sewers and moves into base contact with Agent O'Connell and does 1 blood, 1 stun. And because Nightwing was stunned and knocked down, Tristan, what can I say? He's dancing down the street, being an absolute lunatic, and shoots at female cop and just kills her outright. So I had a mixed round here. I had some luck with Joker and unfortunately lost some of my arresting potential in the crew with female cop going down and Nightwing being stunned. So overall it was a mixed bag, and the score was 13 all. Heading into turn 5, I managed to activate first, luckily. So I stand up Nightwing and attack Joker again and did 2 additional bloods. I'm slowly getting there. Copperhead goes next, and she's still wailing on Agent O'Connell. She does 2 hits and I do 2 blocks, and that's the end of her activation. Azrael goes next. He does 2 hits, 2 bloods, and a knockdown to Borgin. and he sprints to the ammo because I'm trying to get some more objective points. Asker goes next. He shoots at Agent O'Connell, does one hit and does a blood and a stun. Red Hood goes next. He fires at Tristan and does a blood and a stun. Again, my poor dice rolling. Tristan fires at Red Hood and he misses. So suck on that, Tristan. Then Agent O'Connell. He attacks Mr. J and he misses. So at the bottom of turn 5, the score is 20-16 in my favour. Turn 6 saw Joker pass his recovery roll and Pan got to raise the plan first. So, of course, Joker stands up, moves into base contact with Agent O'Connell and smashes him into a pole. So I've just lost my last guy with the arrest special rule, which wasn't fun. Azrael moves in to take on Copperhead, does 2 attacks and does 2 more bloods. Morgan stands up and rushes at Red Hood to do 1 blood, 1 stun. I try and block, but I rolled Snake Eyes, so my bad dice rolls are returning. Red Hood strikes back, and he takes out Borgin, dealing 2 stuns. Copperhead goes next, and she attacks Azrael. Does a crit, 1 blood, 1 stun, but the Kevlar saves him, and so I knock it down to 1 stun instead, and he is knocked down. Asker does 2 attacks to Azrael and does 2 bloods. So at the end of this round, it's really getting gritty and dirty. The score is 24-18 in my favour. As we head into turn 7, Nightwing activates first. I obviously raise the plan first, and he takes down Joker with a knockout, dealing 4 stun damage. Asker then attacks Azrael and does 1 more blood. Azrael finally gets to stand up, and he splits his attack. He does 2 on Asker, who does 2 bloods, and he does 2 on Copperhead and does 2 bloods, and he knocks her down. Tristan shoots at Red Hood. He does 1 hit, but he fails to wound. So my bad luck is rubbing off on Pan now. Red Hood attacks Borgon and does 4 bloods. The score heading into the final round is 31-18, with Pan having the raise the plan first. So Joker stands up, having passed his endurance roll, and Pan actually, to his credit, does something quite tricky. He stands up, and he does a special attack called a charge, and he charges into Nightwing, bumps him out of the way, and then sprints away with his Titan dose still on him, and is safely out of reach from me and anyone else. So that was a bit of a bummer. I was going to take him out with Nightwing. But instead, Nightwing moves into Copperhead, and with his 4 attacks, knocks her out, which finally she's gone. Asker attacks next. He attacks Nightwing, but I block with boxcars, double 6s. So I've had a mixed game this round with my dice. Red Hood charges and attacks Tristan, but only does 2 stun damage. Tristan attacks back and does nothing. And Azrael goes for glory and finishes off Copperhead. So instead of just being knocked out, I make her a casualty. And that's how the game ends. So final score is 38-20 victory points in my favour. All in all, it was a really fun game and we had a lot of fun. And when we talked about it, there wasn't much that we'd do differently other than the things I mentioned with who I attacked first when I activated. Having talked to Pan about it, he was pretty happy with how his crew performed. However, he thinks that Copperhead might not be the best sort of match for this crew, as she sort of finds it hard to get any wounds through against my sort of hero-heavy crew. So he's looking at other options. But all in all, we had a lot of fun, and I hope you did too watching this video. If you'd like to see more, please remember to like, comment and subscribe to this channel to stay up to date with the latest in news, tactics and battle reports. This has been Andrew from BMG Productions, signing off.